Toccata by Paradies, or Paradisi as he's sometimes known, is a vibrant and exciting work from his Sonata No. 6 in A, written in 1754. The composer was a harpsichordist and teacher, and this is perhaps his best known work. Those of your students who have played or been familiar with sonatas by Scarlatti may recognise certain features in this work as well, because Paradies was heavily influenced by the keyboard works of Scarlatti. It is worth having that conversation, I think, early on in the learning process with your students about the fact that this was written not for our modern day piano but for harpsichord. And I would encourage them to listen to both performances on the modern day piano and the harpsichord and get them to note down the differences, in particular when listening to the harpsichord performance, the more percussive quality, the more brittle sound that is created, and how that shapes and characterises the music. When they've worked that out, ask them the question, how might this affect and influence your interpretation on the piano? Other things to get them to do would be a harmonic analysis, so jotting down the chords that are created, the cadences, the keys and modulations perhaps that the music passes through. This will really help them understand the overall structure. It might also be worth addressing stylistic norms of notation and articulation from the period, and also having that discussion with them about editorial suggestions and how seriously to take them or whether to deviate from certain suggestions in the score. I think all of that could help them have greater creative freedom to designing their own dynamic and articulation structures in the music. So deciding whether or not the left-hand quavers right at the beginning are semi-detached or perhaps a little bit free in terms of detached legato, all that kind of thing, all of that needs to play into their understanding of the music. One of the challenges here is where the texture swaps. So one of the hands has always got semiquavers and the other has mainly quavers, and then they swap at certain points. Trying to make those transitions as seamless and smooth as possible is quite a challenge, and the way to get them to do that would be to ask them to play the whole piece only playing semiquavers and leaving out anything else in the texture. So I'm playing from bar 10 here. So you get the idea. And then the next thing to do would be only to play the quavers. So I'm going to play from bar 14. So it's giving them the impression of how seamless they can make those joins, those transitions, so that when they put the full texture back together, they can try and mimic that smoothness and make sure that it's seamless. Another challenge, towards the end of the piece, we've got some left-hand octaves in bar 64, and the key here is really to get them thinking of as bouncy and flexible a wrist as possible. Rather than telling them to play the octaves, think of these octaves needing to be just touched as briefly and lightly as possible, so that the minute they've played the octave, it's like they pull back from the keys. Very, very light, and that will get rid of any tension in the sound as well. It's a lovely piece, it's very engaging, it would make a great recital or exam recital opener, and I think they'll enjoy learning.